How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the minimum wage increases for the year 2019. That's going to affect 20 states as per the headline right over my shoulder. The subhead to the headline says workers in 24 U.S. cities and counties will also see a wage hike starting New Year's Day. Now, what that means is some cities in certain states will have a higher minimum wage than a surrounding county and or surrounding state. So a prime example right now is San Francisco. They have a higher minimum wage than Oakland, which is right across the bridge. And both of their minimum wages are higher than California as a whole, if I'm not mistaken. So it gets kind of weird like that. I'm totally against the idea of a minimum wage. It kills jobs. It kills people's ability to get into the workforce to begin with. It's just overall not good. All that it really does is helps the mega big companies because they can afford to pay these outrageous minimum wage prices while the mom and pop shops do not have the cash to be able to pay it. And the reality is that most businesses in America, 99% are small, and about 70% of those that pay out wages to employees are also small. So the Walmarts and the Amazons and whatnot, these are not the average company. They're the outliers, and having the minimum wage be high, like $15 an hour, as you see right there, will only benefit them when the law is in place, because others must also have the same thing. It's one thing for them to have it and then others to be able to undercut. But if everybody has this big number right here, then only those with the cash to be able to survive a hit like that are going to make it. But let's get into the article to see what it says. And the article reads, thanks to legislative efforts, ballot measures, and adjustments for inflation, workers in 20 states will see an increase in the minimum wage in 2019. These minimum wage increases, which range from a 5-cent inflation adjustment to a $2 per hour increase, will impact 5.2 million workers. And for those who work year round, it will raise their annual pay between $90 and $1,300. According to a recent Economic Policy Institute report. Let's pause right there for a moment. How do you know how much a person's pay will increase? And what's up with that crazy range? 90 to 1,300? Doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about a little bit of math here. I got my calculator here, handy dandy, just for this occasion. If you're getting paid an hourly wage, you are not getting a salary, which means that your hours could adjust. Let's say right now you're getting 20 hours per week. You know, this whole thing about 40 hours, ain't nobody getting no 40 hours on the minimum wage. But let's say you're getting 20 hours a week, right? At $8 an hour right now. So 20 times 8 is 160. Now, what happens if you get a $2 per hour increase in your wage, but they cut your hours to 15 rather than 20? 15 times 10 is 150. So you got to increase in your pay. You got to raise, but you're making less money than you did before because they cut your hours. So you could have your wage go up or down depending upon the external things, taxes, hours being cut, whatever the case may be. But let's keep going in this article to see exactly what they're talking about here. On January 1st, 2019, 24 cities and counties will also raise their minimum wages. Though the federal minimum wage has remained at $7.25 an hour since 2009, there has been a growing movement across the nation to raise this number at both the state and local levels. In 29 states, the minimum wage now surpasses the federal level, and a handful of states have pledged to raise their minimum wage $15 an hour over the next few years. Let's pause one more time. If it were so easy just to say, $15 an hour, like, where does it even come from? Where does that number actually come from? It seems pretty random and arbitrary. But if it was so easy, if all these companies had so much money just to be able to throw around like it's nothing, then why do it over the course of years? Why not do it all at once? It's because it's too high. It'd be too expensive. What they want people to do is to raise their prices of goods and services or develop technology to be able to eat that minimum wage increase. They're giving them time. They're giving McDonald's enough time to develop their kiosk system more than what it is right now. Same thing with Walmart and other places that are going to pay this minimum wage. Let's say you're 16 years old, never had a job before. Rather than you getting the job, a machine will get the job. And the person who understands how to work on machinery, an IT guy or an IT squad, they'll work on the actual machine. And the cost of the people to maintain the machine and the machine itself over the course of a few years will be less than you, the human being. This ain't nothing but a way to just replace humans that much faster. It's incentivizing technology to be rolled out sooner than it probably should be, which may lead to problems, but it doesn't even matter because the whole point is to try and save money. But let's keep going. Out of the 20 states increasing the minimum wage in 2019, 6 of them, California, Delaware, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, and Rhode Island, are increasing wages thanks to laws set by their state legislatures, according to the Economic Policy Institute. In Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Maine, Missouri, and Washington, voters approved the minimum wage increase through ballot measures. And in 8 other states, New Jersey, Ohio, South Dakota, Vermont, Alaska, Florida, Minnesota, and Montana, the minimum wage was raised as a result of automatic adjustments for inflation. So those may be the states where you're talking about a 5-cent, a wage and increase. Nevada could join these 20 states in increasing its minimum wage, depending on the outcome of review by the state's labor commissioner as to whether the minimum wage is properly adjusted for inflation. Here are the states which employees will see a boost to their pay in a year based on the USA Today report, which includes Nevada, Oregon, where the minimum wage won't increase until July, and DC, in addition to the 20 states outlined in the ECI report. Now, here's an interesting map right here. And for this, I'll turn my camera off so you're able to see this full little actual thing. Give myself one moment. Okay, so you see here, Washington State, $12 an hour. That's going to be the minimum wage, very high. Oregon is very interesting. You have a specific wage for Portland by itself, $12.50. For the state, $11.25. For small rural areas, $11. Why is it like that? Well, Portland has a greater economy than the rest of the actual state, which it kind of like it kills the whole idea of minimum wage anyway, because there should be no actual federal minimum, because you never know what kind of economy a place is experiencing to be able to afford these high prices when it comes to businesses. It really shouldn't be any minimum at all. Competition should be what drives the actual cost of labor. Competition and demand. If you go to North Dakota or somewhere like that, there's a demand for certain kinds of workers due to the recent boom in oil and stuff up there. So they're going to pay more because it's a higher demand because the people aren't there. California, you have $12 for large employers, $11 for small employers. That's not telling the full story. I think these are just the increases for this year. But in previous years, you've had San Francisco, maybe even LA, Oakland to have their own individual minimum wage. Let's talk about Alaska, $9.99. That's one of those, adjustment for inflation type wages. Arizona, $11. Nevada, still working on that. Montana's $8.50. Colorado, $11.10. South Dakota, $9.10. Minnesota, $9.86 for a large employer, $8.04 for a small employer. Really weird. Missouri, $8.60. Arkansas, $9.25. Well, such a big difference between Missouri and Arkansas. I feel like Missouri will have more of an economic, because you have not far from Illinois, you have St. Louis. What's in Arkansas? $9.25? That's way too much. Let's look at Florida, $8.46. Ohio, $8.55. Michigan, $9.48. Why is it so high in Michigan when you have so much poverty, like in Detroit, Flint, etc.? New York, look at this. Really complicated. Okay, so for a large employer in New York City, $15 an hour right now, very high. There's still a lot of very poor people that live in New York City, So I don't understand why they think that's an acceptable number. But let's keep going. $13.50 for a small employer in New York City, $12 for Long Island and Westchester County, and $11.10 for the state. Let me see. Jersey, $8.85. Big difference between New York. Like, you can be right on the border of Jersey and New York on the New York side and pay $11.10. In Jersey, you pay $8.85. That's a big difference. You're talking about what, like over $2? Big difference. Massachusetts, $12. Vermont, $10.78, and Maine, $11. Really weird prices. You know, they're talking about, oh, it's because of inflation and stuff like that, but I really want to know where the numbers come from. I think that wrap it on up right there. I just want to say that the minimum wage is a bad idea. It always has been. All it does is price people that are unskilled out of the workforce. What ends up happening is this. If you have a high wage like that, you're going to have people from all walks of life competing for that particular job. How is a 16-year-old with no skills, no experience, no nothing going to compete against a guy like me? I've already done 5 years in food service back when I was, 16, 17, up to like 21, 22. I've already done it. So if I come in with my 34-year-old self talking about I want to get a job paying $20 an hour busting suds, washing dishes, I'll be able to get it over the kid that really needs that job. Because that was the kind of job I had to start out with. I was getting paid $6.50, which was a lot for me. I'm at home living with my mom. What do I need to buy, really? It was plenty for me. I was able to go from there to a better paying thing, which was my own business, and then go from there to something else. You move along in your life. You don't just stay stuck in the mud. I was looking at people on television talking about, oh, I need $15 an hour for my minimum wage because I've been here for 10 years and I make, $7.25. It's like, all right, well, if you've been in one place for that long, then did it ever occur to you to try and do something else, to try and expand your world and try and go to school, to not live like this is okay? You see, people have to be able to just expand. And that goes to a thing about gentrification. People, on one hand, want their particular community to be developed, to have new businesses come there, but they're not ready for them. They don't have the skills to be able to work in these places, nor do they have the skill to be able to get out of that poverty mindset that they have. So when they have an increase in their property value, they can't pay it, although the increase is a good thing for them because now you're living in a better neighborhood, a more valuable neighborhood, a safer neighborhood, but they're not ready for it. It's the same way people that are out there talking about raise minimum wage. You want the bar to be lowered to your standard rather than rising to the bar yourself to advance in life. So that's pretty much all I got for now. How you feel about the minimum wage in general? Do you think that it should be $15 an hour? Should it be $0 an hour? $7.25? If you think that the minimum wage should be a particular number, where is it actually coming from? Where do you get the number? How do you devise this actual quote unquote number? That's what I like to know. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.